All right, guys, this is going to be my last video on the Charlie Kirk incident. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I want to make the connection between Bible prophecy, America and Bible prophecy, and kind of what we've been seeing over the last week. The scriptures do bring out what's going to happen in the United States. And, you'll be surprised to see the connection between the United States of America and Bible prophecy. That's right. The United States of America is in Bible prophecy. It's in the book of Revelation, chapter 13. And I'm going to talk about that. A lot of people don't see the connection with America and Bible prophecy, but we're going to look at that here. In Revelation chapter 13, verses 1 to 3. And it says there, I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, his feet was as the feet of a bear, his mouth as the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. Now here you can see the Bible referring to a beast rising up out of the sea. In Bible prophecy, you'll find also symbols, and those symbols are connected to animals such as beasts and things of that nature. Here you can see in Revelation 13, the Bible refers to a symbol of the sea, and the sea represents populated locations or populated countries or nations. You can also see beast. Beasts represent nations. And I'm going to show you that here in just a minute. I'm going to show you where the Bible represents sea as populated locations or people, multitudes, nations. And then also beast. Beast represents in particular kingdoms or kings, presidents, so on and so forth. We're going to see that in the Bible. And when you look at verse 2, you can see that the beast that John refers to was like unto a leopard. Notice the Bible uses the symbology of beasts, and it likens it to certain specific beasts because of those characteristics that the beasts possess. For example, a leopard. Leopard has spots. If you ever look at a leopard or see a picture of a leopard, you'll see that leopard has varying spots, and it means that the leopard spots actually have significance as well. But here you can see that this beast was like unto a leopard. His feet was as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So right off here in the beginning of Revelation 13, the chapter of Revelation 13, you'll find that the Bible's referring to this leopard-like beast, and this leopard-like beast rose up out of the sea. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of that. Keep in mind, this is symbology that's being used in Bible prophecy to send a message, and the message is quite clear. This leopard-like beast would rise up out of the sea. Each of the head represents sort of a president or a king. And the horns also have significance to the type of government that king would wield. So you have this beast that is leopard-like, and it has feet of a bear and a mouth of a lion, and the dragon gives its power to the beast. Now, the dragon, the Bible tells us the dragon represents Satan himself. So we find that scripture tells us that this leopard-like beast, and a leopard-like beast, again, has spots, and those spots don't change. But it's connected to the dragon. And who is the dragon? Well, the dragon, the Bible tells us in Revelation 12, verse 9, and it says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Notice the Bible clearly tells us that the dragon is Satan, and Satan deceives. I want to make that point abundantly clear because I've been talking a lot about deception the past 3 videos, and I want to make the connection between who is the father of all deception and lies. And then we saw in Revelation 13, the beast. And what does the beast represent? Well, in Daniel chapter 7, verse 17, it says this: these great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth. So beasts represent kings. And you'll find it also in verse 23 of Daniel chapter 7, verse 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth and tread it down and break it in pieces. So in Daniel chapter 7, verse 17 and verse 23, we find the Bible telling us that beast represents kings or kingdoms. Now that's important when we look at Revelation 13. It says there in Revelation 13, verse 1, again, it says, I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. And this beast had 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horn 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. So this is essentially what John saw in vision. God showed him a beast, one beast, rising up out of the sea. Again, the sea representing people, multitudes, and nations. And then this beast that rose up out of the sea had 7 heads and 10 crowns upon its head. Now, the beast representing kingdoms or kings, and the heads representing types of governments within that kingdom. Now, this represents in particular the Roman Empire. History tells us that the Roman Empire rose and overthrew 3 other kingdoms: Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece. After Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece, then the Holy Roman Empire arose, and that's what Revelation 13 verse 1 to 3 is referring to. When it talks about this beast rising up out of the sea, it's referring to the Holy Roman Empire overthrowing other kingdoms, or particularly the Grecian Empire. However, in Revelation chapter 13, verse 11, it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. You'll notice this beast arises out of the earth. It doesn't arise out of the sea like the first beast. It arises out of the earth. So the opposite of sea is dry land or earth. So the opposite of sea is that of earth, which means this beast power would not overthrow other kingdoms in order to rise to power. And friends, we find this in the history of the United States of America. When America arose as a superpower or as a power in Bible prophecy, it did not overthrow any other kingdoms in order to rise to power. In fact, we're reminded of this every 4th of July or Independence Day. We're told historically that in 1776, America gained its independence from Britain, and it developed 13 colonies, and these 13 colonies represent the original United States of America. So when we read in Revelation 13, verse 11, I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. That beast rising up out of the earth represents the United States of America in 1776. Another thing I want to point out with Bible prophecy, particularly verse 11 of Revelation 13, you'll notice that there are 2 horns. The Bible calls it lamb-like horns. What do those 2 horns represent? Notice what it says in Revelation 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Notice here in verse 11, it refers to 2 horns like a lamb. It doesn't indicate that it's the beast of a lamb, but it just indicates that it's 2 horns like a lamb. So these 2 horns, as I discovered in history, as well as in my study in Bible prophecy, those 2 horns represent the type of government that the United States of America would have. All right, I want to take the opportunity to explain those two sides of government. They are Republicanism and Protestantism. They are not Republic and Democrat. They're Republicanism and Protestantism, and that's in our history. That's in our history as a country. I want to quickly show you what each one means. So essentially, friends, you can see what God is telling us in Bible prophecy in Revelation 13. Those two horns on that beast are lamb-like horns, and those lamb-like horns represent Republicanism and Protestantism. And what is the definition for Republicanism and Protestantism? Let's look at Republicanism first. Republicanism is a political ideology rooted in the idea that the power of government should be held by the people and exercised through elected and appointed representatives. Derived from the Latin term res publica, public thing, it emphasizes civic virtue, the common good, protection from arbitrary rule, drawing from ancient Roman and Greek traditions. See, again, those ancient Roman and Greek traditions play right into Bible prophecy. Now, the second of those two horns is Protestantism. It says Protestantism emerged from the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century, a movement started by Martin Luther that challenged the authority and doctrines of the Catholic Church, emphasizing salvation through faith alone and the Bible as the sole authority. Key reformers like John Calvin, Thomas Cranmer established major traditions such as Calvinism and Anglicanism, leading to significant religious and political conflicts across Europe. The movement spread, aided by the printing press, resulted in new denominations and profoundly shaped modern history and the development of countries like the United States. So, when we go back to Revelation 13:11, we find those two horns like a lamb represent the two types of government that the United States was founded on, Republicanism and Protestantism. And those are the only two sides of government. You know, this thing that we have now, Republic and Democrats, that's not in Bible prophecy, nor is it even a reality within our own government. It's really just sort of a make-believe thing just to kind of get people to think that there are two different sides, a liberal and a conservative. But really, they both work for the same side. And the purpose of having two different sides is kind of like playing good cop, bad cop. That's in order to move the person along, to actually get them to make a decision. If you get people on different sides opposing each other, a lot of times you can make changes in the government, and those changes can challenge the two foundational principles of the government, and that is Republicanism and Protestantism. That's the whole goal of the Republican and Democrat sides of the government, or I should say Democratic Party. The goal is really to tear down Protestantism. So if you know anything about history and how this developed, in the 16th century, a man by the name of Martin Luther nailed 95 theses. There were 95 protests on the wall at the church at Wittenberg in Germany. And these 95 theses were 95 complaints against the abuses of the Roman Church. Anytime you combine church and state, you will have abuses. And that's what Martin Luther was protesting. So if you look at the basic teachings of the Protestant Reformation, Luther advocated salvation by faith alone, and the Bible is the ultimate religious authority. Martin Luther believed in the scriptures. The basis of the Protestant Reformation was sola scriptura, the Bible and the Bible alone. And friends, I submit to you that the two partisan sides of our government, and particularly the two various factions within our government, Republic and Democrat, is designed to destroy Protestantism. There should really be no two partisan sides. Our government should be based on what the scriptures tell us in Bible prophecy and that is the two horns of Republicanism and Protestantism. Republicanism is the nature of the government for the people and by the people, and Protestantism is the nature of the church, which is separate from the government, but it's based on sola scriptura. Why is this important? And how does this relate to Charlie Kirk and the quote-unquote assassination? If you remember, Charlie Kirk was definitely involved in politics. Now, I covered in my last video the fact that there's a connection between Charlie Kirk and that of Israel. Now, you can see in these pictures, Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump shaking hands, letting us know that there is a connection between the two of them. There's a connection between Turning Point USA and the United States of America. And I believe it was Candace Owens that brought out those details in a video not too long. We know Candace Owens was definitely a friend of Charlie Kirk. And not too long ago in a podcast, Candace Owens had this to say.
Charlie Kirk, who has been a friend of the feds, right? I think probably not a good idea to be friends with these people, but whatever. He's been a friend of the feds. Surely this is a big issue.
And not only was Charlie Kirk a friend of the feds, but Erica Kirk was directly connected to the government as well. In fact, not too long ago, Erica Kirk said in an interview that her mother was hired to be a part of Homeland Security in the United States government.
Hey, can I ask a question? It's maybe off topic. How did your mom choose Phoenix?
So she chose to move to Phoenix from Ohio because there was more of an opportunity for a female business owner out here, especially from the standpoint of she was getting involved with the government, so Homeland Security and Department of Defense. And so she had other business partners that were out here that were already in that industry, especially from the standpoint of she was getting involved with the government, so Homeland Security and Department of Defense. She was getting involved with the government, so Homeland Security and Department of Defense.
So what does all this mean? It simply means that they're all connected. From Charlie Kirk to Erica Kirk to her mother. And when you connect the two or the three together with the United States government, and their connection is also to the dragon, as it says in Revelation chapter 13, verse 2, it says, "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet was as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority." And that dragon power that gives it its seat and authority represents or is represented by secret societies, particularly Freemasonry. And just so you know, I'm not making this up, Revelation 12 verse 9 connects the dragon with Satan. In verse 9 it says, "And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." When you connect the three together, you will find a connection. If you look deep enough, you'll find a connection to secret societies such as Freemasonry, Order of the Eastern Star, so on and so forth. And that is the reason why we show the ring on the finger, as well as numerology, the number 33 in particular. There's a direct connection between the number 33 and the occult. Actors such as Russell Brand came right out clearly and would show the number 33. In fact, Russell Brand had tattooed on his arm the number 33. And what does the number 33 represent? You will find over and over, if you look deep enough into this, that it represents Freemasonry, secret societies. Well, when they started reporting on the Charlie Kirk quote-unquote assassination, they were saying that they caught the shooter in 33 hours. 33 hours it took to catch the shooter. And over, we saw the number 33. And I just want to kind of show you how that number kept coming up over and over in the news. For example, we find in NPR News, they said 33 hours, a timeline of Charlie Kirk shooting and the search for the suspect. Also, you find in BBC, 33-hour manhunt. You'll find in USA Today, there was a 33-hour manhunt. Reuters reported suspect in Charlie Kirk murder in custody after 33-hour manhunt. So the number 33 came up over and over and over again.
We have made historic progress for Charlie. In less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise.
So not only did Kash Patel, director of the FBI, mention it, but Candace Owens talked about it as well. Notice what she said.
We don't know why the feds say that it was the 33rd hour after the shooting, like a total Freemason number. 33rd hour after the shooting. Third took us.
Now, did you catch what Candace is saying here? I mean, she's coming right out and giving the connection between 33 and Freemasonry. Notice what she says. I'm going to slow it up and play it.
That it was the 33rd hour after the shooting, like a total Freemason, like a total Freemason, like a total Freemason number. 33rd hour after the shooting. It took us 33 hours.
Now, you know Candace understands this esoteric signing that they're doing. You know, you often see her in her podcast putting up these signs of 3 6s. You can see it over and over again, like the one I'm showing you here on the screen. I mean, you know, she throws it up so often. And notice what she says.
Okay. Over my dead body, which I'm sure can be arranged. Now, I'm going to take a pause. We're going to go to some sponsors, and then we're going to get into what we are being told by the agencies. They're definitely.
Now, who does that? I mean, I don't do that when I talk. I mean, who does that type of signing with their fingers other than people who are connected to secret societies and who are communicating using esoteric signing, which is what they're doing here, which is what you see on the screen. So when you hear Charlie Kirk, or when you see Charlie Kirk talking to other Christians or Christian organizations, especially the Seventh-day Adventist Christian organization, and he talks about the Sabbath, you know, again, he has a way of sort of adapting to his environment. And so it becomes very obvious when you see videos like this that Charlie Kirk is not authentic. He's not what he says he is in terms of he works for the government. He works for the CIA, and that is his priority. I want to play a video at this point of Candace Owens talking about how Charlie Kirk was coming across into Catholicism. You know, Candace is Catholic. She converted about a year ago. Not too long ago, she said Charlie Kirk went to Mass. He prayed the rosary. Notice what she says.
You know, I think Charlie was definitely on the brink of changing some of his perspectives. And I can tell you factually, Charlie was praying the rosary. Charlie was going to Mass. Charlie was praying the rosary. Charlie was going to Mass. One of my last conversations with Charlie was me joking with him saying, just make the last step, okay? You are, I said specifically, you're too smart to be a Protestant. You're too smart to be a Protestant. Just take the last step, Charlie. He says, ha ha. He was speaking about Mary. And typically when those steps start taking place, you stop referring to yourself, as I did, as a Judeo-Christian. You stop referring to yourself, as I did, as a Judeo-Christian.
You might say, why is this important? Why is it important that we understand that Charlie Kirk went to Mass or that he prayed the rosary? Because, friends, there's always been a controversy between Protestantism and Catholicism. Protestants have always been protesting against Catholicism from as far back as, you know, the European Empire. And history bears that out. Now, we know Candace converted to Catholicism about a year ago. And I want to play a video of her talking to her Catholic family. Notice what she says. And notice particularly why she converted to Catholicism.
Wow, thank you guys. Wow, hello. My Catholic family. Thank you. All right, well, let's get started. So I was asked to speak tonight about my journey, and it's a huge question. People always want to know, like, what made you become baptized, convert into the Catholic faith? I was Protestant my entire life, and everybody's journey is different, and everybody's journey, or at least for me, has been very strange, and I'm very excited to share it with you. And I think you guys have probably figured out that My journey really was through politics to faith, through politics to faith, through politics to faith.
So if Candace Owens' journey was through politics to faith, what about Charlie Kirk? Is it possible that his journey was also through politics to faith? And what type of faith is he? What type of faith did he espouse or did he defend? You can see the picture here on the screen. It says, all my life I've defended Israel. Could it be a connection between Zionism and Christianity in America? Could that be the reason why Charlie Kirk was sort of planted within Protestant America for the purpose of combining Zionism and Protestantism? All right, before I close, I want to analyze the shooting here. And I want to analyze it in relations to the video that we saw online, particularly Charlie Kirk, and just before he was shot. You'll notice it seems like there's something under his shirt. And first you see the impact on his shirt, and then you see the impact of the bullet on his neck. Notice the shirt. Notice the shirt. Notice the shirt again. And then shortly after that, you'll see the impact from the bullet. Right? And then he slumps over to the left. Now let's back that up. Notice the bullet and then notice the impact in the shirt. The impact on the shirt and the bullet in the neck is different. The impact on the shirt is there. And then you'll notice the bullet. And then another thing, if you'll notice, the gentleman pushed him over in the chair. And then a number of his security team members, they run around and they pull the chair out of the way and they grab the body, which I always thought in a crime scene, especially when there's a gunshot victim, that you don't disturb the gunshot victim, that you don't go grabbing the body. But they grab the body. Not only do they grab the body, but they hold the legs up above the head, which I know is a no-no. You really don't elevate the legs above the head. Notice you can see his legs come up really high and his head is still down low. Another thing I want you to notice is it seems like there's a line down from his neck. You see that black line? I want to draw a red arrow down to it to show you what I'm referring to. There's a line, a black line right there. As I slow it down, you can see that black line and then it disappears. And you see it again, right? What is that line? Then you see them grab his legs, and I guess they didn't elevate him high enough, so his legs got up above his head. And then they finally took him out, and they carried him out and then carried him away to an SUV. Now, again, I mean, anybody knows, I know, at least I know, that in the event of a gunshot victim, you really are not supposed to move the victim. You're not supposed to touch them. Usually that's considered a crime scene, and usually you want to cordon off the crime scene until proper investigation is done on all angles, right? But you can see here that they grabbed Charlie Kirk, and there's probably about 5 guys that grab him. There's 2 grabbing him under the shoulders, and then there's 2 to 3 more grabbing the lower extremities. Another anomaly that I wanted to point out was notice them rushing him out to the SUV. Notice the guys. Now, he's supposed to be bleeding pretty bad, you know, and usually you would see a trail of blood. With as much blood that was coming out of his neck, you would see a trail of blood, but you really don't see that. What you see, in essence, is about 5 men around him, and they're all camouflaging him. Now, here's a video of where he got shot, where he was sitting. You can see a little bit of blood on the table. You can see a little bit of blood down on the grass. And that's it. That's all. Now, here's another anomaly. And right after he was shot, this man right here grabbed the chair And you'll notice that chair. You can see that chair there. He grabs it. You can see the chair is bent because they pushed Charlie Kirk off the chair. He stands on the chair and takes down the camera. And, I asked myself, is he supposed to be standing on that chair? Is that something that is supposed to happen? It seems like that is evidence, and he's sort of distorting the evidence there. He's actually destroying evidence. He's actually tampering with evidence. That should be a no-no. It seems as though perhaps he's taking the camera apart, taking the battery out, maybe taking the SD card out. I'm not sure. But he's sort of getting that card and seems like he's holding on to that evidence. I don't know if he's working for the feds or if he works for Turning Point. I'm not sure. But I know he takes something and he walks away. Meanwhile, they carry the body out. And again, notice him throwing the body into an SUV. Now, that seemed like that would cause more trauma to the body. Notice him throwing him into the back seat of the SUV and then running around and getting in the car. I would think that you would call an ambulance and first responders would come out and they would properly transport him to the right vehicle to take him to the trauma center. This I've never seen before. This seems so out of the ordinary. So all of this just seems very, very questionable. I'd like to know what you think. I'd like to know how you feel. I'd like to know what you think about the prophecy study, the prophetic study that I sort of touched on early on in this video. There's definitely a connection between Bible prophecy and what we're seeing in the world today. So until next time, friends, take care.